There is an animal on Earth that lions fear, wolves avoid, bears would rather not encounter. It has no claws, no venom, no armor. And most members of the species spend several hours a day staring at glowing rectangles while arguing with strangers online. That animal is us, humans. And somehow, despite looking about as intimidating as an overgrown chimpanzee with back problems, we became one of the most feared creatures on the planet. Walk through a forest and you'll see it everywhere. Birds launch into the sky. Deer disappear into the trees. Squirrels act like they've just witnessed a crime. The moment they notice a human, they're gone. But why? Why are animals so terrified of us? The answer begins with a fact that would have been horrifying if you were alive 100,000 years ago. Humans didn't hunt like other predators. We hunted like psychopaths. Most predators rely on speed. A cheetah catches prey by outrunning it. A crocodile catches prey by ambushing it. A snake strikes with incredible precision. But humans developed a different strategy. We followed and followed and followed. Imagine you're an antelope. You spot a human in the distance and run. Success. You've escaped. Except 3 hours later you look back, and he's still there. Not sprinting, not charging, just jogging toward you at the speed of mild determination. Early humans were persistence hunters. We could run for enormous distances without overheating because we evolved a remarkable cooling system, sweat. While many animals had to stop and rest, humans could keep moving, hour after hour, until eventually the exhausted prey collapsed. To an animal, that wasn't just dangerous. It was deeply unsettling. Most predators eventually give up. Humans treated exhaustion like a weapon, and over thousands of generations, animals learned an important lesson. If the strange upright ape notices you, leave immediately. But hunting is only part of the story, because animals don't just fear humans, sometimes they fear us more than other predators. And that's where things get weird. Researchers studying wildlife have played recordings of different sounds near animals, predator calls, natural threats, and human voices. The results surprised everyone. Many animals reacted more strongly to ordinary human conversation than to the sounds of other predators. Think about how ridiculous that is. Imagine being a mountain lion. You're one of the most efficient hunters in North America. You can take down deer, you can survive in harsh wilderness, you're an apex predator. Then you hear two humans discussing what they did over the weekend. And suddenly you're thinking, you know what, I should probably leave. Why would predators fear us? Because unlike other predators, humans don't play by the rules. Nature runs on patterns. Wolves behave like wolves. Lions behave like lions. Sharks behave like sharks. Animals learn these patterns and adapt. But humans? Good luck. Sometimes we rescue injured animals. Sometimes we feed birds. Sometimes we spend millions protecting endangered species. Sometimes we bulldoze half a forest to build a parking lot. Imagine trying to predict a species that invents wildlife sanctuaries and leaf blowers in the same century. We're impossible to categorize, and unpredictability is terrifying. In the wild, knowing what a predator might do is often the difference between life and death. Humans shattered that system. We hunt during the day, we hunt at night, we hunt alone, we hunt in groups, we use traps, spears, boats, vehicles, technology. From an animal's perspective, we're not just another predator. We're every predator combined into one extremely confusing package. And the consequences go far beyond animals running away, because humans have changed how wildlife behaves across the entire planet. In fact, scientists discovered something astonishing. Animals around the world are becoming more nocturnal. Not because of wolves, not because of lions, not because of bears, because of us. Researchers examining dozens of mammal species found the same pattern again and again. Animals that were normally active during daylight were shifting their activity toward nighttime. They're literally changing when they sleep, eat, travel, and reproduce just to avoid humans. Think about that for a moment. Your species became so influential that wildlife started rearranging its schedule. Entire ecosystems are operating on different hours because humans exist. And the effects don't stop there. Fear changes landscapes. When animals feel threatened, they don't use environments the same way. They avoid certain areas, spend less time feeding, move differently, hide more often. Ecologists call this a landscape of fear, and it can reshape entire ecosystems. A frightened deer grazes differently. A frightened rabbit chooses different shelter. A frightened bird nests somewhere else. Multiply that across thousands of animals, and suddenly entire habitats begin to change, all because something might be nearby, and often that something is us. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Not all animals are afraid of humans. Pigeons aren't exactly trembling with terror. Seagulls will steal your lunch while making eye contact. Raccoons occasionally look at humans with the confidence of someone who pays rent. So what happened? The answer is habituation. When animals repeatedly encounter humans without negative consequences, they slowly stop treating us as dangerous. Their brains update the information. Human appears. Nothing happens. Human appears again. Still nothing. Eventually, the fear response weakens, and some animals become incredibly comfortable around us. Crows take this to another level. They don't just recognize humans. They recognize specific humans. Scientists have shown that crows can remember individual faces for years. If a person threatens them, they remember. They warn other crows. They even teach younger crows, which means there is a very real possibility that somewhere, right now, a crow is discussing you with its friends. And honestly, that feels like a security concern. Perhaps the strongest evidence comes from places where humans historically weren't present. When explorers first arrived on isolated islands, they often found animals that showed almost no fear at all. Birds allowed humans to approach closely. Some creatures even walked toward people out of curiosity. Why? Because fear isn't automatic. Fear is information. If generations of animals never experienced dangerous humans, there was no reason to develop that response. Which reveals something important. Animals aren't born fearing humans. They learn to fear what humans do. And unfortunately, history has given them plenty of examples. Humans have hunted species to extinction, destroyed habitats, altered rivers, changed coastlines, modified the climate itself. From an animal's perspective, fearing humans isn't paranoia. It's pattern recognition. The squirrel sprinting away from you isn't overreacting. The deer disappearing into the forest isn't being dramatic. They're responding to a survival strategy that has worked for thousands of generations. And honestly, the strategy has been remarkably successful. But there is something hopeful hidden inside all of this. In places where humans consistently prove they aren't a threat, animals adapt. Protected reserves, national parks, conservation areas. Over time, wildlife becomes less fearful, more active during daylight, more willing to use open spaces, more willing to simply exist. It's as if nature is constantly asking a question. Can we trust you yet? The answer depends entirely on us. Because humans spent thousands of years earning this reputation, we became the most adaptable, persistent, and unpredictable predator Earth has ever seen. But we're also the only species capable of deciding to be something else. The thing animals fear most isn't our strength. It isn't our speed. It isn't our intelligence. It's our choices. And the future of wildlife may depend on whether those choices continue to justify that fear or finally give animals a reason to stop running.